Hello. My name is Dylan. I also go by Twin Crows around Skyrim modding. I'm a contributor to the Beyond Skyrim project, and today I'm going to be continuing on with the third episode of my Vanua series. I've been building out a dungeon and recording the whole thing to show you guys exactly how it goes. And yeah, so I'm doing this live, I'm going to be recording it, and then I'm going to be uploading it to YouTube afterwards. So yeah, this month in April, I got to do 2 of these streams in a month, which was pretty awesome. Next month, though, since I've seen some more support on my Patreon, we actually get to move up to being a weekly stream next month. So that's pretty cool, and that's thanks to everybody in the community, as well as special thanks to the Patreon supporters for supporting me through this. And yeah, because modding's something that I do for free. It's something that, it's a hobby of mine to just explore it and have fun doing it. But streaming it and recording it for YouTube and sharing it is something a little bit new for me. And that's coming directly from that Patreon support. So yeah, thanks for that. So in April, it's going to be every week, which is going to be pretty cool. So sometimes my system crashes. Last stream it didn't happen at all, but in case it does, just hold on, and about 2 minutes later I'll just reboot my computer. I have a solid state hard drive, so it boots up super quick. But if the stream just goes dead and I disappear, it probably just crashed, and I'll be back in 2 minutes. So you got the chat here. Hello, welcome back. Hey everybody. Didn't expect a face cam. Yeah, I think that's one of the cool things. There's a lot of people doing a Skyrim. I've seen Dark Fox, he does Skyrim modding and tutorials, and he does the face cam too, and I think it adds a whole lot to the experience. Just knowing that, you know, people making these mods, they're people, and they exist in the same space and the same time as everybody. You got XX Turtle Time in chat. Hell yeah, I watched the second part on YouTube, and I'm glad I can catch one live. Nice! So today, I have a stream beer. I have this awesome mug made by somebody around me. And I also have, this is a beer called Dark Matter. It's a brown ale, and that's my stream beer for today. Last time when I tried to pour it though, it like fizzed up, so I have to make sure you do it very carefully. It's a little bit of foam. Spaceman in chat. Same, those videos inspired me to stop being lazy and learn Creation Kit. I decided to join the project and send in my application for Cyrodiil a week ago, hoping to get back soon, but I was told my builds were good enough to be accepted. Nice, dude. That's awesome. I'm super stoked that like these videos inspired you to go ahead and do that, because I think it's easier than some people think, and it's a lot more open than people think too, where people go like, oh, you know, like those people doing this, what kind of people are they? It's like, we're just modders who stuck through it and learned with it and stuff. I've got like the best foam. I'll let that reduce a bit. So, let me see here. All right. So, this is Vanua. This is where we're going to be building. I'll be doing this stream for about 3 hours. And yeah, I think I'll start it off. I like to do like a little walkthrough of the whole thing, just to see where we're at. And yeah, so this is the entrance to the dungeon. It's actually a dungeon that starts underwater. You actually load into the cell drowning, and you have to swim out into the surface. So you go up here, there's a little bit of water here. Continue through these tunnels. There's these catacombs at each side. with dead skeletons. And then a little further down, you get into this room here. And last time we set up these really cool, these roots on the side there. It goes a little bit further. There's this split, so you can go left or you can go right. On the right side, oh, it's underwater here too. So if you dunk your head under the water, there's some treasure down there. But if you go up, go through here. And then this thing, this is, actually I think this was what most of my stream last time was building this rock feature right here. It took me like 40 or 50 minutes just to build it. And then you can go through here. And then that's going to be the next room. So we're going to build that next room today. And I think there's also another little area up here. Yeah, and there's another rock area. This is the exit of the dungeon, so the way that the player comes through it is they start over here where this door is, and they walk through that way. So they come out like that. So yeah, that's this thing. I just walked through it. Maybe it took me 2 minutes, but it that took me about 6 hours of total build time. So that's the ratio that it takes sometimes for building these levels. Is the guy, whoever builds out this level, it's going to take you about 6 hours to make maybe 6 minutes of content. So it's sort of, we're going for scale in terms of like how many players you have, because if you're going to have 10,000 or 20,000 or I mean, a mod like Beyond Skyrim, hopefully there's going to be 20,000 or 30,000 people eventually going through this dungeon. At that point, this scale becomes, oh cool, you know, I spent 10, 12 hours building a dungeon, but then 10,000 people can enjoy it for 20 minutes or something. So just that scale of how long it takes to build these dungeons is one of the challenges in terms of building dungeons for Skyrim. And that's why some people will look at the Oblivion dungeons and kind of go like, oh wow, like these things, they look like they're copy-pasted sometimes. And the reason for that is when we're not copy-pasting it, it takes a lot of time. So sometimes one of the things we do is we'll build like palettes. So like if you think of paint, where you have like the paint on your palette, and you kind of mix it in a certain way, and then you take that color and you put it somewhere else. We kind of do that. So for instance, when I built last session, I built out this thing. What I did afterwards is I actually just changed my view. I dragged all over it, copy, move it over here, and pasted it right there. Rotate it a little bit. It saved me a whole lot of time, and you can have something that looks pretty cool in multiple places of your dungeon. So in chat we have Spaceman2202. True Crows, I hear that the dungeons are supposed to be a little more expansive than the ones in Oblivion. Are you planning on anything new? Yeah, we're trying to make it kind of very nostalgic, but also exciting, so that when you go into a dungeon, it's a little bit remixed, it's changed a little bit, and that there's some new things that you'll see and you'll be like, oh, that's cool, that's awesome. But for this dungeon, I do have a plan for it. I'm going to bring up my notes here. So here's my notes. I keep notes when I build dungeons. I find this really helps with... I keep notes on everything. Any mod I do, I have tons of notes. And for here, my notes, it starts with a theme. So for Vanua, the theme of it is... One second, I'm just going to turn my music down. It's so loud for me. And I'll turn it back up for you guys. Okay. So, yeah, so Vanua. So Vanua in Oblivion was introduced with the Knights of the Nine DLC, and it was the place where the I think it's the Helm of the Champion. Is that what it's called? Um, that's where you find that. So it's Pelinel Whitestrake, who is this ancient Cyrodiilic hero who fought off the aliens. That is where you found his helmet. It was sitting on this altar, and for this one, I'm doing a little bit of a nod, but I'm not giving you that same helmet because that helmet you can already get in Skyrim through, I think, part of a Creation Club DLC. So what I'm doing instead is I'm making kind of like kind of a replica of it, and the idea for that is going to be this thing here. It's called the Helm of the White Worm. It's going to be a helmet that is going to give you some similar stats, but it's not exactly the same. And yeah, I think as well as this one too, it's the idea, like this theme that I started talking about, and then I got distracted, was this idea of what happens to this holy reliquary where the helmet of Pelinel Whitestrake, it used to be, and then it was taken out by the hero Kvatch. You know, they used it, they brought it out, and it ended up in Skyrim somehow. So what happens to that location that used to be this reliquary after its purpose is complete, after the helmet has been taken by the person who's supposed to take it? In my mind, it just kind of becomes forgotten. It becomes this sort of forgotten place where the roots grow thick, cobwebs grow, and I'm gonna see where it goes. But my goal that I'm gonna shoot for, I'm not sure if it's gonna happen or not, is to add a lich to this one. I think it's a great candidate for a dungeon with a lich because Vanua is actually underwater. It's outside of the Imperial City, in kind of that lake that surrounds it, and you actually have to dive into the lake, and then at the bottom there's this little opening of this alien ruin, and that's where this place is. So it's a really obscure location. You wouldn't find it if you were a traveler in Cyrodiil. You would only find it if you're an adventurer diving underwater or led to it somehow. So I'm gonna add a lich there, I think. So I've been building this theme of this really kind of rotten, overgrown place. But I also have a few things. I try and track like a to-do list as well. So I have a few things. I want to change the entrance. And then I had some ideas for changing that boulder entrance. I might not follow out on that one though. I think I might skip that one. And then thinking of building up that second cell. No, I think I'll skip that one too. Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to do one thing in this cell before I leave it and I go on to the next one. Spaceman in chat. Nice. My focus is on building interiors for buildings like houses, inns, taverns, shops, etc. I'm hoping to build some stuff for Imperial City. Yeah, it's so cool how much of that stuff there is. Level design, I think, is the most enjoyable thing, and it is also the thing that there's the most work for. So if you're at all inspired by this stuff and you think it's really cool, just know that if you build up that skill and that ability to do level design, it's something that takes a lot of manual work. You have to really work on it and do a lot of stuff for it, but it's also like one of the most enjoyable. I love it because I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm Bob Ross painting this painting, and you put a little boulder over there or a little skeleton corpse over there, and there are no mistakes. There are only happy accidents. All right, so. yeah, building, I think all interiors are really awesome. I've definitely fallen in love with dungeons, which is a funny thing to say. Dungeons are really cool because you get to build these encounters. It's almost like playing D&D with like 1,000 people, where you're creating this encounter for them to go through and explore. And they get to go through it. You can throw little traps at them and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just going to do this one thing I had on my to-do list, which is going to be... Oh, I keep grabbing. Not quite everything there. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is... I wanted to make it so that it's like all submerged at the beginning, so you get that full authentic enter the dungeon drowning experience from Oblivion. Sometimes we have to put the annoying things in the game too, because that's where the whole nostalgia is. Plus, if you know it's annoying, then you're kind of in on the joke. Alright, there we go. Now you are very dunked into the water. Chat, I saw some of Pulzin's stuff. Oh boy, he's got... Yes, he is. I worked with Pulzin a little bit. We were making a interesting dungeon over in the Bravil area, which... we thought it'd be interesting to make a dungeon where the end of the dungeon is also the end of another dungeon. So if you imagine it, it's a mirror. You have the entrance of an alien ruin and an entrance of a mine. You go deep enough into the mine, and you actually enter into the alien ruin. So it's this idea of kind of two dungeons that meet at the end. And the story for that one is really cool too. It's like they dug too deep in the mine and they ended up in a ruin. Alright, so that is that checked off. So I've made the tunnel goes underwater. And then I also want to add a corpse. There's a corpse I want to add at some point. I think near the entrance. Entrances are good places to add corpses. Because it shows people that, oh, there's something going on here. I wonder how old I want my corpse to be. Because I think Skyrim, in terms of like the years, I might be wrong in this, but I think it is 150 years after Oblivion. So it's been a lot of time. And I have a corpse I want to add. I think it's going to be a relatively recent corpse. I think I'll go through and do that right now. Let's see. Chat, I never liked Dwemer Ruins, but this makes me want to actually explore them. Yeah, it's interesting. I thought that was interesting that so many people didn't like Dwemer Ruins. I think part of it was because they always felt so big and there wasn't really a sense of, you know, oh, I'm halfway finished or I'm all the way finished. Because with the Dwemer Ruin, it's kind of, at the end, it usually opens to Blackreach. And then you have like that whole area of like, you know, it doesn't feel like there's something missing from it. I'm not sure what it is, but maybe it's that idea of like completion, of like, I've explored this dungeon, it's complete, I've done it. Where Dwemer Ruins, the further you go, the more you have to do, because eventually you end up in Blackreach. But yeah, I kind of felt that too. But on the other side, Dwemer Ruins are kind of one of my favorites. They're not necessarily the same, I think, low fantasy. I think that's the thing about Dwemer Ruins is a lot of Skyrim is low fantasy. So it's sort of, you have bandits, you have saber cats, giants. Those kinds of things they're fantasy, but they're not high fantasy. High fantasy is more like magic and enchantment and things. And I think Dwemer ruins are kind of a little bit less familiar for people. Oh, in chat we have. Okay, yeah. So somebody's saying between Oblivion and Skyrim, it's at least 201 years. So yeah, it's a lot of time has passed. It's really cool to see when I got into the project too, because once you get in, you get access to the files, so you can explore all around. You can see where the whole project is at, and all you have to do is get into the project, and you get to see where the cities are at, which is really cool because you can visit some of those cities that maybe you played in Oblivion, and you're a huge fan of Elder Scrolls, so you want to see like what does that look like in the future? Like what is kind of the community imagine that Kvatch would look like when it's rebuilt? And that's something that is actually pretty well complete. When I first got in the project, they were opening up, I think, interiors for Kvatch. So I picked a couple of those. I picked I think it was a home of a couple, two Khajiit actually, two Khajiit living in Kvatch, who were working on, working for one of the postal companies. There's these news companies, if you guys remember, like Black Horse Courier and stuff like that, from Oblivion. We're building those out too. Oh, I'm so curious. What are these things now? A slowed? Whoa. This is the kind of thing you get to do. In the project, you get to look at all these crazy things. That thing's wild. Okay, so I want to build a corpse. There's going to be a body, a dead adventurer in this ruin, and I have to find, what are they going to be? I think I'm really just looking for a Dunmer. In chat, isn't that the slowed asset from Moonpath Elsewhere? It might be. I think that's probably it. It's these ones. It's interesting. If you guys could read this, it might be really small for you, but some of them are prefixed with CYR. That means that it's a Cyrodiil asset, and those ones were prefixed with BSK. So those are the Beyond Skyrim. They're pretty much anything. So it could be from Beyond Skyrim Morrowind. It could be from any of the province projects that are going on. If they're kind of across multiple provinces, it'll be prefixed with that BSK there. I think my favorite is the goblins. Yeah, I love these goblins. None of this stuff should be new. I think they've probably shown these goblins off. But I just love these goblins. There's one that actually looks like, let me see if I can find it. It's my favorite goblin somewhere in here. There we go. Here he is. It's the Dragonborn. Oh, did it freeze? Oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. The goblin bosses. They're wearing like, they're wearing iron armor. They look like little dragonborns. Okay, there we go. elf race. That's what I'm looking for. Find a male. I'll take one of these bandits here, and I'm going to duplicate it out. It's going to be called CRY Vanua Adventure Corpse. How are the sound levels for you guys? Can you hear the music enough? I might have turned it down too much. It's actually between songs right now, but okay, so I duplicated out a bandit corpse, and I want to make it a special corpse just for my dungeon, and I'm going to give it special loot and things. So I need to uncheck all of these. It's every character is an actor, and so what I'm going to do with this actor is it has a template, and I'm going to tell it don't use anything from the template. I want to customize all of these things. The project that I'm the most stoked for right now has got to be Beyond Skyrim. I think it's the Rosria project where they're doing Atmora. It's like a province north of Skyrim. I think they're very close to being finished. Alright, I gotta think of a Dark Elf name. This one actually comes from a patron. So one of the things that I offer for patrons is at a certain level of support, I'm gonna make a corpse for you. I'm gonna try and push this one into the Beyond Skyrim project. And it's just like a little, a little small thing to kind of get people's names down and be like, yes, you're in the project. And this picture, they asked for the name to be Razum Dar, like from Elder Scrolls Online. I don't know if the Beyond Skyrim people are going to let me do that name specifically, so I'll have to like tweak the name a little bit. But it's gotta be similar. I think a lot of people will like that too, if it's just a little nod. So Dwemer name, or not Dwemer name, Dunmer name. Let me see. Oh, here's a little tidbit about Branche. So Branche, I was looking in the creation kit, as you do when you're modding, and you end up finding all these really weird Easter eggs about things. One of the things about Branche was that originally it was actually not a Dark Elf. Branche was either a Nord or an Imperial, and their name was Brandish. So Branche is a Dark Elf version of Brandish. So Branche is found in like Riften markets. I think I almost have the name Razum Dre. The Dre is definitely a good Dark Elf name. Ravam. There we go. Ravam Dre. That's a good. It's kind of similar to Razum Dar. Maybe. Let me. Ravam Dar. Ravam Dar. That's good. I think that's pretty good. Because ESO in the timeline, ESO was like way before almost any of the modern Elder Scrolls games. So Ravam Dar. Okay, so just gotta pick out the equipment. Okay, so he's gonna have some gold. So what is it? Gold. There we go. Gold's reserve 1. He's gonna have 20 gold. And he's gonna be like a fighter. Some melee outfit with a shield. I like that. The cool thing about corpses too, in Skyrim, is every corpse you see is going to be a potential bit of loot. So everything that he's going to have is going to be like a little treat. You know, if you're starting the dungeon, maybe you don't have everything you need for the dungeon, but there's a corpse at the beginning, which is another adventure. You can take that adventurous stuff, you can continue on. Steel arrows. Just a couple. He's gonna. Oh, that'll be it. He ran out of arrows. Well, he's not quite out. He has 2 left. He's gonna have an orcish greatsword. Let's see if I can get an enchanted version. Enchanted. Orcish. There we go. Greatsword. Fire. Oh, this will be nice. Okay. This is for Vanua. Vanua is very much underwater. Kind of hard to get to. I'll pick the 3 one. The 2, 3, 4. What that means is those are the levels of enchantment. So the 3 or the 2 is going to be like pretty weak. 3 is pretty good. 4 is like the highest here. If you want to think in terms of levels, just put like a 0 behind each of that. So it'd be level 20, level 30, level 40. So I'll give him like a level 30 greatsword. Those things. And the patron requested this. He's also going to have a copy of a special book, and it's called Book. What's it called again? But it's going to be he wants to have the Lusty Argonian made with him. Okay, so it's called Book 3 Valuable. It's very valuable. Book 3 Valuable. And it's going to be the Volume 1. Volume 1 is the one everybody knows and loves. Spaceman waiting for your Beyond Skyrim application. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how long it might have taken me. 2 or 3 weeks, maybe. It's just depends on when people go and check it, because there's a few people within the project. Because I mean, I love modding and stuff, and I love doing level design. So that's been my area. There's also people who are actually really into the administrative side of stuff. So they're not necessarily, they haven't picked up the technical skills to do level design or 3D modeling or things like that. So there are some people who kind of focus on like that administrative, like getting the, you know, this really open and low responsibility organization running. So it might take a little bit. Trying to think if there's a way that you could notify them to check it, but I don't think there is. I think it's going to be just waiting until those people get back to it and get they'll take a look at it for sure. I know a lot of the people working on that administrative stuff know that there's more people wanting to get into the project right now, so I'm sure they'll do it. And yeah, like it's once you get into it's really quick, because they'll just, you get into the Discord and from there it's just, you can ask questions to like the whole team and everybody can just kind of lead you right through it. Alright, so I guess if he has a greatsword he shouldn't have a shield. Heavy offer. Cool. It's not going to respawn. And he's going to be unique. Spaceman in chat. I was told if you haven't gotten a response back for your application within 2 weeks, you could probably message someone. Yeah, I wish I knew who you could message. Okay, so now I just need to put that corpse somewhere. So see where our Vanua. Oh, he's gonna be in here for sure. This is a good spot. Oh, nice. So I changed his armor to be that heavy armor. Excellent. Let's start that. I might put him right at the mouth of this cave, as if there's something, you know, it's foreboding. Why is there this corpse right in front of here? Okay, and now I have to mess with the havoc physics to make the body land in a good way, because otherwise he's gonna look like he's doing whatever this is. Move that around a bit. Restart. Oh, that's good. He almost looks like he was running out of the cave. Nice. Alright. So there's that. So now I'm going to do something pretty exciting, which is starting a whole new cell. So every area in Skyrim is organized into cells. One cell, each cell is listed here. So these are all of the cells. Vanua, so far, my dungeon I'm building, has been in one cell. So, oh, I gotta change some things too. I'm just gonna change the interior data, just to give it a name. This one's gonna be called Vanua. I've already done the lighting, and stuff like that. Okay. So now for Vanua, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate the whole cell. And then it gets to be called Vanua 02. And the other one, see where Vanua, that one gets to be called Vanua 01. Cool. So now, this is very exciting because I also get to go ahead and open up Oblivion. So sometimes when I boot Oblivion, it's a little bit loud. So just be prepared for some noise that might happen. Alright. So when I do this, why I go ahead and do this is because my method for building these dungeons is I'll go right into Oblivion and I'll walk through the dungeon to get a sense for what it looks like, and then I just go right ahead and I copy it out. So we're going to go COC Indeed Vanua, and that's going to teleport me to any cell, as long as I have the name. And just going to drop some things. Okay. Ooh, 1 second, let's get the sensors in. Toggle detections, they don't. This is good. Yeah, he's gonna try to attack. Okay, I'm gonna turn God mode on. I'm just gonna try and escape through this tunnel. So this, if I alt-tab back here, that room I was in with the skeletons, I guess I should have another skeleton, eh? Put another one here. It's kind of an axe skeleton. I'm gonna add some skeletons. LDL skeleton. And it's gonna be a melee skeleton. I like the idea of maybe making it a boss. This is kind of a boss room. So to make a boss, all you do is you place a leveled creature, and then you double click on that creature, and then over here in the level actor tab, you can set this. And the way that you set a boss is you just take a leveled creature, and if there's a specific boss version, you place the boss version. But if you want to make a common enemy, but you want to make like a boss, like a harder common enemy, you go ahead with this level modifier here. And I'm gonna make it very hard. I think that's gonna be the way Vanua's gonna go. Is it's gonna end with a lich, and that means that it is a challenging dungeon. Liches are crazy. I'll show you what liches look like. I believe, yeah, skeleton, boss lich. So they're either level 40, 50, or 60. So they're pretty high level. And whenever I test these, because I often test at like level 1, it's a one-hit kill. They have like a shock spell and they just slap you with that and you go down. I'm gonna see if I can show you guys what these liches look like though. We're gonna add one later, but is that the right one? No, that's not the right one. It's BSK lich. There's a certain floating lich. Maybe it's because I'm spelling it wrong. Yeah, this is the guy I'm thinking of. So this is an Alien Lich. We have a few of these. And this guy's gonna be... what is at the end? He has a staff. These Lich have extremely strong staffs. Okay, so over here, player goes through here, and we are going to be building this door. So I'm going to swap over to my second cell, Vanua 2, and we're going to swap over here, Oblivion. So through this door is the Shrine of the Crusader. Alright, and so now I'm just looking at, oh, Jesus. Okay, so what I'm... Okay, we're friends now. What I'm looking for here is what kinds of kits are being used in the dungeon, because I'm going to be copying that and we'll be building it out. So it's going to start off as a incline here. So there's a dirt incline, and then you go through this tunnel here. And then it becomes a ruin. This is cool. Okay, okay. So I'm going to start off slow. I'm going to do that dirt area there. So over here, this is where the player is going to start, but they start at the opposite side. So I'll take these pieces, and I'm just going to flip them, and that's where the player starts. I'm going to move these pieces over to the point of origin for the cell, so that's way back over here. Okay. So this is where our cell is going to start. And everything else, sometimes I keep this stuff around because I've duplicated out this cell, so all this stuff exists in that original cell. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it kind of out of the way. Oop. I have to make sure I move the lights too. That's something I do all the time, is I forget to grab the lights too. So I'm going to hit M to show all the markers and things. Go over that, and just drag it all the way. Okay, so now we're going to start using a new kit. And that kit is CYR. It's an Imperial Ruin kit. So it looks very similar to the Skyrim Imperial Ruin, but we've retextured it. So it looks like this. So it's a little bit more of a kind of a limestone texture. I want to use things like this. It's interesting the differences between those two kits, because if I swap back over here and we take a look here, this actually looks pretty put together. Like there's stones, there's columns and things. Our version of that is a little bit different, but what I'm going to try and do for this dungeon is I'm going to take that base kit, so these kind of things, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make my own columns to kind of add around the dungeon too, to make it look a little bit more refined. Okay, so it's kind of this door, and then it just goes left. So we get Imperial. It's going to be a hall. A hall. There's either a hall or a room. The halls are things like, you know, linear paths, whereas rooms are rooms. They're a little bit bigger. So I'll search for the hall version, and I'm going to try and look for a two-way. So that's going to be a corner because it goes in two directions. But actually, for this one, I think I'm looking for a 3-direction one, because over here kind of has this alcove, and I think I have to do an alcove a little bit different. So it'll be a 3-direction hall. This is going to be a really good project for me because I haven't experimented too much with the Imperial kit, and I know there's a lot you can do with it, but it's just one of the ones that I'm less experienced with. I've been doing a whole lot of Ayleid runes, so I know that kit like the back of my hand. But the Imperial runes are fairly new to me. But it's going to be fun to explore that and build out some interesting stuff. It might just take me a little bit longer to cruise through all the different assets though, so that I can see everything that's available. I might even be building it. I might even build this alcove with my own blocks. Another thing I can do, which is actually really good practice, is take a look at another Imperial ruin that somebody else has done before and see if there's anything similar that I could copy through. I think for now I'm gonna see about copying things. That's good. So that's what those columns look like. So if I grab a couple columns, are they called columns or pillars? Yeah, they're called pillars in this one. So it's a large room pillar. I wonder how big it is. Oh yeah, that's huge. I might do that one. For a smaller, oh there we go. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do with this one is cover up those wooden columns there using this bit here. Chat, Eric Thomas Hunt. I've got a scoop, but I just wanted to say thank you for streaming and making such awesome content for me to explore later. Have a great day and night, everybody. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks so much. It's a blast to make this stuff. I enjoy playing it, and it's so fun to me to just make it because it feels like a game just to create these things. And yeah, it's gonna be awesome when it's all done and everything. So thanks for coming by. Alright, that's starting to come together. That looks a lot more like what that room itself looks like. Okay, and it should be pretty easy now for me to make a little alcove there. Yeah. In chat, obsession is where all the good art gets done. It's very true. When you get immersed in creating, you get into this flow where you forget about hunger, you forget about thirst, you forget about anything else, and you just create. I'll be making things and I'll be like, oh my god, it's 2 a.m. or it's 4 a.m. Or sometimes I'll be modding. Seriously, I'll be modding and I notice that it's starting to get bright outside, and I'm like, oh geez, maybe I should take a break. you know, even if you're not tired, you don't even get tired when you're in the flow. And it's a fun thing. It's interesting. I think in terms of, you know, everybody, you have your life to live. You can do what you want with your time. And I think that one of the best things to do, one of the coolest things, is creating things, making things for people to enjoy and enriching people's lives. To me, I feel like that's a really purposeful way to live. It's productive because you're making things. And it's also really positive because you're creating things for people to enjoy. Spaceman, my first level design experience was when I messed around in the Far Cry 3 editor. I remember that thing. That thing was so cool. I used to make outposts for myself to clear, or little towns to roleplay with. Yeah. Level design it's such a cool thing because there are so many ways to get into it, and a lot of these games have level design components to them. And it just makes it so fun because it's sort of like you get to see the results of what you make really quickly. I think one of my first level design experiences that I remember was, I think it was a game called Time Splitters. It was like Time Splitters Future Perfect. And there was a map maker for that. And I kind of made like this maze for my, like one of my childhood friends. And I'm like, hey, like check this out. And I remember one of the coolest things about it, it was a dungeon, really. It was a dungeon. Because there was a trap in it where there was a door and you go through the door and there was a spike pit right after the door. And I totally fooled my friend. He went right through that door and he died. And he was like, what? Oh, man. Meanwhile, me laughing my ass off. Oh, 1 sec. Oh, my girlfriend just needs something from the room. I'm gonna just take that out to her and then I'll be right back. Alright, I just had to give her her headphones. Spaceman in chat. My favorite part of it is being able to make such a vital aspect to a game without having to code. I tried making my own games in Unity, and I liked the level design, but I absolutely hated coding. Yeah, coding is frustrating, because you have to talk to a computer in a language that it understands, which is not a language that many people are used to speaking. And I know when I code, it's like it's trial by failure. So you keep messing it up and you keep messing it up and keep messing it up until finally on the 100th try it works how you want it to. Coding takes a long time. It doesn't have that same satisfaction as level design, where level design you can build something and you can see the results of it and you can be like, yeah, oh cool, I built it. Coding can have a different kind of satisfaction, where when you finally, after 100 tries, get something working right after 4 or 5 hours, that kind of eureka moment of like, yes, I did it finally! The code works how I want it to. But it's very frustrating. It can be demoralizing too, because you can work on something, and it's like that idea of, you know, it might take you 5 hours to finally get to that eureka moment, but if you quit at 4, it can be a bad experience. It's always good when coding and stuff. Take a break, go for a walk outside or something, just clear your head and be like, okay, all right, play a game. Just not for too long. And then get back at it. I do some game dev on Unity as well. But my passion for sure is Skyrim. I've gotten so far into it too with like, you know, after so many years and stuff of trying to learn it and trying to figure it out, and you know, you keep iterating. Each time you get a little bit better every time you work on it. It's kind of you get good at one thing. You get good at something, and sticking with that thing can be really rewarding. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of look for a long brick, but at the same time, one thing I love to do is build a palette. So I'm gonna put that brick there. I'm gonna try not to delete things, but I'm just gonna take them out. All these stone blocks and bricks. Place them here, just for later. I wanted to confirm with you guys, is the music a good volume? Can you hear the music? Okay, so these are some pretty good blocks actually. I think I'm looking for one that I can fit right about there. I might actually use this big honking one. Yeah, that'll be good. And then that's kind of the base of the alcove. Like that. Music volume seems good. Nice. I want it to be loud enough that like you can still understand what I'm saying, and also loud enough so that if I go quiet for a while, it's still an enjoyable experience. Okay, I think I'm gonna add a light here. Give me a blue light. All right. I think I made a light last time. Yeah, I made like a green light. Grab another light here. Alien blue light, that's what I want. Blue light desat. Is it desat or shaded? There we go, that's perfect. That's exactly what it is. Just like that. Is there anything in this alcove here? What's the shape of this alcove? So it does have a rounded shape. Oh, okay, so it's kind of flat a bit, and then it gets rounded. So I'm gonna see what I can do with the bricks there, because I know this alcove, I've seen these things quite a bit, and it would be a good idea to build this out so that I can just copy and paste it. So it's okay if it takes, you know, 10-15 minutes or so to build this thing out. See if there's any quick way that I could get one of these alcoves, but I think I'm gonna have to build it up. these statues too. These are really cool. You know, the other thing I can do, which is sometimes the better option, is collapsing it, because it takes a long time to build these things. And it has been over 200 years since Oblivion. I think I'm just going to collapse it. So we're going to build a big rubble pile in that corner there. Let me see. Ooh, that's way too big. A small rubble pile. Valhalla Assassin. Hello, I recognize you from last video. Similar to what you did in the last video. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the cool thing about building these things for Beyond Skyrim is we get to do a little bit of a creative interpretation, so it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but it kind of has a nod to what it is. So I think, you know, this alcove, I'm sure not too many people are like, oh yeah, I'm so nostalgic for that little alcove. I'll see what I can do there, but I'm not going to stress it too much if it's not too simple to build. That's decent, actually. That's not too bad. I think that works. That'll work for now. And then the other thing I'd like to do, I'm gonna try and put these all over, is there's a certain route. What was it? I can't remember the name of it. Oh, it's Vine, not a root. That's the name of it. It's Vine. There we go. This thing. I'm gonna put this on the wall. Just like that. A little smaller. There we go. That looks nice. Sometimes it's just a matter of working over a particular part of the dungeon until you're satisfied with it. Adding different pieces. Put some more rubble down there. There we go, that's cool. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Yeah, that is cool. Okay. Wow. I was worried about that little piece, because sometimes we don't have the exact same kit piece. Where, like in Oblivion, when they were creating it this way, they actually had this whole corner, and it's sort of, it's either the corner or they had these alcoves. We don't have exactly the same. But now that I think of it, I'm trying to think if I'm using the right kit here, because it has these registers. Because we also have the castle kit. And I don't think it's this kit. Castle int. No, it's not this one. No, I don't think it's that one. Yeah, no, it's a little different. Okay, So it goes left, and then it goes into kind of this hall. Awesome. So there's this long hall that's collapsed at one side. Just trying to make sure it lines up perfectly. There we go. Valhalla Assassin. What do you find is the hardest part of modding? It's interesting. I think it always changes depending on the time, because I've been doing modding for 4 years, and I think at first the hardest thing about modding at the very beginning, because if I want to split it out and give like 4 different responses, one is the earliest, and then maybe the middle of my modding, and then the most recent modding. The first thing that was challenging for me about modding is learning the creation kit, because you want to make something and you have all these cool ideas, but translating those ideas into an actual thing can be difficult, because the tools you kind of have to work. You have to figure out how they work, because the tools are good. The tools are actually pretty good, and so whenever there's an issue, it's always you have to figure it out yourself. There's something you have to overcome in order to get the kit working and get it so that you can be productive on it. That's the earliest part, is sort of figuring out the tools. That's the most difficult thing about, you know, the first year of modding. And then the second year of modding, I think, is getting over publishing anxiety. Getting over that idea of when you put something out there, it's not, you know, you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be completely 100% finished when you upload it. It just has to be good enough for people to be able to play it and experience it. So yeah, that's the second year difficulty struggles, is just getting over the idea that it doesn't have to be a perfect mod to put it out there. People will enjoy it even if it's imperfect. And if they flame you for releasing an imperfect mod, it doesn't really matter. If they're not creators themselves, then their feedback matters, of course, but you know, they don't know all the struggles and challenges that it takes to make mods. So that's the second year, is sort of getting over that anxiety of publishing and creating things. And I think the most recent things, in terms of like things that are hard for me right now. I think one of the thing that is a little bit more difficult more recently is getting the time to mod and consistently having that time to go back and maintain older mods. That's one of the things that I'm struggling with more recently, is sort of going in and going, okay, you know, I gotta look back at my mods. There are some mods that maybe I've done 2 years ago or 3 years ago, where if I want to get back into it and maybe offer a new bug fix or something like that, it takes a while, because you really have to immerse yourself back into, you know, what was that mod, you know, what did it do? Especially if it's like a script or anything like that, it's sort of, you have to get back into it and figure out what's going on with it. So that's the most recent struggle, is kind of keeping up with the mods I've created, to kind of go, okay, well, you know, if people have submitted, if there's been issues that they found with it, getting back into it and fixing it can also be a different struggle. I think it's interesting how through modding, it's really a journey. Right? Like you start at one place, you end up in another place, and the thing that really pushed me through with starting to create mods was I had just graduated from university, and I was starting to enter kind of this productive part of my life, because previously to that, like, I had been in school and stuff like that, so it was sort of a part of my life when I was like, oh man, I want to create things, I want to make stuff, I want to put stuff out there for people to experience. And I think that's one thing that's always kind of kept with me too. It's sort of that motivation where you're like, okay, this is why I'm doing it. You know, even when there are struggles that you're going through with modding, I mean, it's almost like a broader discussion of things like that. It's always kind of coming back to like, what is it that's driving you to put up with the creation kit when it crashes and you notice that you just lost 6 hours of work or something because you didn't save properly, or if a file you're working on becomes corrupt for some reason and you're like, oh my god, like all that work could be gone if your files, if you're not backing them up properly. Yeah, there's challenges for sure. I think one of the things, especially with that year 2 of like anxiety about publishing, is I started thinking of it as like psychic damage. So sometimes when people respond to your mods in kind of maybe a way that's a little bit more careless than they should, you know, it kind of inflicts some psychic damage where you're like, oh man, like, oh, you know, that feels bad to me knowing that. I mean, and sometimes it's completely legitimate, right? Because if somebody, as a modder, people are trusting you to, you know, do a surgery on their beloved Skyrim. And when people want to play Skyrim, they want to have a good time and they want to enjoy it and stuff. And if you release a mod that crashes their game, or makes their save games kind of wonky, people can get upset, and it's justified. I think I would get upset too in some ways. But I think the biggest thing that's always overwhelming to any struggle or anything is try and put your stuff out there early, because the feedback that you're going to get, always in terms of, you know, who's going to give what kind of feedback, it's always more positive than negative. Even if you have people who do get upset and it can bother you that they're upset, that's totally legitimate. But there's always going to be more people who are super thankful and they're super like positive in the comments, going like, oh wow, like thank you for making this is so cool, you know, I had this awesome experience with your mod. That's the kind of stuff that really drives us to keep going through and pushing through whenever there's any kind of struggle. Valhalla Assassin in the chat again. What is your favorite kind of mod to make? My favorite for sure is levels. I love making levels. Dungeons are super cool because when I'm working on them, I get immersed. And I just get into a trance of building something cool for people. Spaceman in chat. I just had to explain to someone what stir fry is. Yeah. Everybody always says their first time when they've never heard of anything. That's pretty funny though. Yeah. Stir fry. It's just, I don't know. You stir it and you fry it. It's one of those words that's just so beautiful because it is what it says it is. You can understand it directly. Stir fries are one of my favorite things to make. I think, yeah, you get stir fry, you get some beef and broccoli. Just simple, like 2 ingredients stir fry. It's just delicious. I love making simple meals that are, you know, there's not too much to them, but they are delicious. Okay, let me take another look at it, see what it looks like. Okay, good. So, yeah, it kind of goes down, and then I'm going to build one more spot, which is the end. It looks like some roots and things come through there. I think my favorite kind of stir fries, you get a meat, a vegetable, and then like rice or something, just to like fill it out. Spaceman in chat. I had to explain it to a 45-year-old what stir fry was, and as someone who's a teenager, it was weird. That is weird. That's strange. Imagine going your whole life for 45 years of your life without ever hearing of a stir fry. I guess like maybe they would know it as like chow mein or something. The Under King. It's so nice to see somebody fly through the creation kit. My camera is always moving around like it's being handled by a Muppet. Yeah, it's an acquired skill for sure. It's what I do is I'll click the thing and I hold shift and then I move my mouse around and it just kind of pivots. So the biggest thing is pivots. And it pivoting is pivotal because you click on the thing, you hold shift, and you just move your mouse, and that's pretty much how you move everything. And then pretty much the only other movement I do is scrolling in and out with the mouse. So you pivot and you scroll out. You can drag. Another thing I do is drag. So I press down the middle mouse button and it pans across, and then you pivot. It's just something that you kind of get into it. It's like all those kind of hand-eye coordination things where all it takes is time. You build up like a muscle memory. So I hope the viewers are doing good. I see that there's 17 of you, and it's always awesome to see that there are people who check this out live. That means a lot to me. Just knowing that there are people around the world interested in learning Creation Kit and learning level design. I think that's so cool. I've been putting these up on YouTube as well, and the YouTube viewers are also like super cool too. They'll comment on the video and be like, hey, like this is really cool, you know, this is inspiring me to open up the Creation Kit and maybe looking at Skyrim modding as a hobby, as something that you kind of look at and get invested in, as almost like a lifelong skill. That's kind of how I look at it, is I don't plan on stopping modding. I think that if there's good modding tools for Elder Scrolls 6, I'm going to keep doing it. Otherwise, I mean, I might just continue on Skyrim modding. It's a great platform. There's so much you can do with it. It's the Underking. Nice. Do you ever have a problem with click registration? Sometimes I can't get the right object selected. Usually, the biggest thing that I'll have in terms of that is if there are effects going on in the same scene. I'm going to pull out an effect just to demonstrate what I mean. I'm going to grab one. It's going to be a beam. I think I'll grab a beam. So a beam of dust. Let's see if it can happen with this one. So there are effects. So for instance, if I'm trying to edit something, right? And over here, I have this problem whenever I do, when I build effects before I finish building my whole layout of my scene. Because whenever you're doing effects like beams of light or anything, that is usually best to do at the very end, for this reason. Because if I'm trying to select, let's say I want to select this column, I try and click on it, and it's going to select the beam of dust. It's like, great, I didn't want to do that, I wanted to click the column kind of thing. That's one of the big issues that I'll have, and what I do in that case, when I'm trying to get something selected, and if it might be selecting the wrong thing, is you click on the thing, just let it click on the wrong thing, and then press 1 to disable it, and you press 1 again, and it's going to hide it and disable it. So now if I click again, I can select my column. And then you press Alt-1 to unhide and show everything that's hidden. So sometimes if I'm working on a complex scene that maybe it has effects, or maybe I'm trying to get into something that is hidden behind something else, you just press 1 a few times. You press it 2 times and it's going to hide and disable it. And you press 1 again, it's going to hide the other thing. So you can keep going. This is actually something I do a lot. It's one of the most useful tools. If you click on it, 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. See, everything's hidden. It's not deleted. It's just hidden. So if I go Alt-1, it all shows up again. See, Underking, you're blowing my mind. This is Chim. It is Chim, my friend. Creation Kit is Chim. You can unlock the secrets of the universe. Alright, so let's see where we're at. Okay, so this kind of the entrance here is not lit, but then the sides of it are all lit. Alright. Izzy Underking, thank you. I just noticed you. Thank you for you subscribed with Twitch Prime there. So, yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of really cool tips and tricks. And a lot of it too is like, it becomes second nature to just do these things too. So it's just things that you pick up and it makes it so much easier. One of the coolest things about teaching is that I can struggle through figuring all this stuff out on my own for years. And then in potentially a couple months, I can teach you guys everything I learned over my personal struggles over a few months. And every generation of modders that we create is going to be better than the last generation. Because you're building off of the things that we find. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do, Imperial, it's going to be rubble. Can I fit this? No, this is too big. That's way too big. it's a ceiling or a wall. Okay, so let's start with this one. Yeah, one thing I love about modding is you get to create your own world in a lot of ways. You create your own play space for people to inhabit, and inhabiting just for enjoyment. So I'm going to kind of layer these rubble piles. I want to kind of create a mound. It's decent. I kind of want to make it so that it's tough for the players to climb it, though. I have to go steeper for that. Do I have a better... I almost think this exterior rubble... Nah. I was almost thinking of putting that there. I like the fact that this is like, there's dirt. Move the light a little bit. So there's... There we go. Okay, I'm gonna put a vine in here too. Cool. So there's gonna be this... There's all these layers. That's one of the coolest things. There are so many things that are similar between painting and level design, and one of those things is layers, where as you're working on a scene, you just keep building these layers. And for me, what I do is I'm just adding in different props. So I start with, you know, the walls, and then I make some rubble, and then I put some vines on top of that, and then I might add cobwebs or effects and things like that. And you just keep adding new layers, and your scene will look awesome in no time. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm just gonna put some more vines on it, and then that will be complete. Cool. Alright. There's kind of an end way of that passage there. This is interesting. So there's just like this little single room here. There's nothing in it though. Well, that was where the skeleton came from. He kind of wandered out of that passage there. Okay, so this one should be pretty quick to set up. Let me just make that a dead end, because that'll save us some performance, I think. No, maybe it's better if it's a full room. So for games lately, I've been playing, I've actually been playing Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic, and I've been playing Planet Coaster. So two other really fun building games. Roller Coaster Tycoon, that is a game that I love that game. It's an old game for me. One of those first games, I remember getting it in cereal boxes back when you would actually get some games actually came in cereal boxes. And I was thinking about that the other night, where, you know, digital downloads and digital distribution of games is such an incredible thing, because when I grew up, you had to get physical copies of everything. Games, I mean, it was certainly different. Yeah, there were cereal box games. Roller Coaster Tycoon, I think it came in like Kellogg's or something like that. See, Under King, I missed the big PC game boxes. Yeah, there were some, I remember, I have a really nostalgic memory of actually going into a bookstore in a town called Victoria. I live over in British Columbia in Canada, which is really funny. It's like, I'm noticing we actually had a vacation, a national holiday called Victoria Day. And so Victoria, a lot of you guys are going to be Americans watching this, and this is going to sound alien to you, but Victoria Day is a national holiday where they used to celebrate the birthday of the Queen. So we don't celebrate her birthday, but that is what the national holiday is. It is called Victoria Day, and it is a celebration of the Queen's birthday. Well, not her birthday, but it's just the day where they celebrate the Queen. And there's a town also called Victoria that I used to live in, also named after the Queen. But that was back in the Canadian frontier days, when they were like, this is Canada, this is not the US. We'll call it after the Queen of England, just so everybody knows. I'm certainly not a monarchist, though. I'm very opposed to those kind of things. Alright, so it goes forward, and then it goes through a little door here. Wow, this is a messy room. Look at this. This is crazy. You would never see this in Skyrim. This is so messy. It's not messy in a bad way. It's just messy that, like, for instance, my character can't... If you had a follower, good luck. Your follower's not getting with you. Your follower's going to be going like this. So the only way... This is crazy. This is so different. The only way to get through here is you actually have to jump up here. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm gonna fix that because obviously you want to be able to play with followers. It's just gonna be like a little ramp. I'm gonna see if I can do that hole in the wall because I think that's really cool. Let's see what I can do about that. The Underking in chat. Confirmed Bethesda hack frauds. JK, extremely grateful for their universe. Whenever I see, this is something that I used to think very differently before I started doing level design. Whenever I see errors or anything, I usually think of the poor level designers, because I do this for hobby, and I know that level design is not necessarily like a profitable thing you can do. It's not, you're not going to make enough money to pay rent and pay your bills and pay your student loan or whatever you have with level design money. And so I think of the poor level design workers in Bethesda who created Oblivion with their blood, sweat, and tears, eating only the pizza provided by their corporate overlords and the Mountain Dew that rolls off the cart into their dungeon basement office. Okay, so it goes one further. Yeah, whenever I see any of those issues, I'm like, oh hey, here's one of the level designer. They fell asleep. They passed out from exhaustion. Over here. They did some fantastic things. Actually, one of the things that really motivated me to get into level design was the making of a documentary for Oblivion. When I got Oblivion when I was younger, I got the Game of the Year edition, and I usually didn't get those special editions for games, but this one I was like, I really loved Morrowind. And now Oblivion's out. This is going to be like the game that I'm going to really get stoked for. And it came with like, came with a map. It came with like a little septum coin too. I do not have those anymore. But I watched their documentary they made, and it was fascinating. It was really cool just to see the passion that they had for the game they were creating. And it really inspired me. For a long time when I was younger, I was like, I want to be a level designer. I want to get into this. And, you know, in my own different way, I did eventually. I got into it as a hobby rather than a career, which is good because wages aren't necessarily great for people who work in game design. If you are able to work in game design and you have that inclination towards computers, you're better off working in IT. Because you'll get paid a lot better for it, and yeah, you'll have an easier life for sure. Not to say that some people can exist very cheaply and they can exist without much expense or anything, and they can live happily, but Okay, so that's the end of that hall. Now I just need to put some more rubble in. So I'm going to copy this here. And we'll mix it up a bit. This is a good template. Cool, I like this. And over here, what I need to do is make it kind of go up into a cave. So CYR, what am I looking for? It's gonna be called a mine. Yeah, let me double check and see what that's gonna look like here. Is the underking in chat? Do you ever use the in-game maps for reference, or do you find it easier to just walk through it? I kind of use a combination of both, but the most important one is definitely walking through it. I find it so easy because I mean I can just Alt-Tab, and Oblivion doesn't take all that much processor power. So if I just pause it and then I Alt-Tab over to the Creation Kit, I can run both the Creation Kit and Oblivion at the same time. And I find that's the easiest because with the maps, you can technically copy it, but when you're in the game as well, there's this other thing that happens where you get the feeling for, you know, what are the sounds? I'm listening to the creaking of these skeleton bones, and there's the ambience of this kind of cave white noise going on. And I find that you get this really full experience when you use the game itself as a reference point. Okay, so this is a really interesting piece here. So I think what I'm going to do is it's going to be a mine, but then I'm going to put some bricks in the walls and things, but the bricks are going to have kind of fallen down, because even here, this is, in terms of Beyond Skyrim Cyrodiil, what I'm seeing here is 200 years ago. So imagine what would happen to this place over 200 years. I mean, it looks like it's already falling apart. 200 years from now, everything should be just almost dirt, really. Maybe a few bricks here and there, but it's going to be completely collapsed. So yeah, I'm going to use the mine kit for that one. Mine hall. It'll start as a hall and it's going to go into being a room. Chat, can't wait for Roscria. Yes. Yes. Beyond Skyrim Roscria. It's so cool. I'm so stoked for every team that gets close to completion, because when it comes to Beyond Skyrim Cyrodiil, I'm active and I'm one of the people building it and stuff. And it's just so cool because I try not to spoil myself. Like, even though I could look into those other projects and be like, oh, what are they doing? I try not to spoil myself. And that means that for things like Roscrea, it's like blank slate. When I turn it on, it's going to be a completely new experience for me. And any excuse to start a new serious Skyrim playthrough is a good one. I love that there's so many awesome tools. Like, there's so many different mod organizers and things like that. And one of the things that I do is I'll build profiles. So I'll build a profile for, like, this is this kind of save, and it's going to have these gameplay mods. And here's another one, and it's going to have these mods. And I think when Roscrea comes out, I'm going to build a profile just for Roscrea. That way I can keep modding on my other profiles for modding while having all of my mods configured specifically for Roscrea. It's great because you can set up a bunch of mods that you know work for sure. And you can set them all up in one profile. So even if you want to mess around and try new mods, you have some that you know for sure work. Alright, there we go. There's that entrance there. Dare I say it, better than Oblivion, because your followers can follow you through the hole. And okay, so now it's going to open into a room. I can even actually open it a little bit earlier. Okay, so it's going to open to room. It goes one wide on each side. Trollo asking in chat, do you have a grudge against another project? / do you prefer a certain project over another? Jokingly. If I was going to start a grudge, I don't. So to start it off, I don't. I think it's all just cool that people are creating these things and having a lot of fun with it. But if I was gonna ironically say one project, it would have to be those people who are recreating Oblivion in Skyrim. Not the Beyond Skyrim Cyrodiil people, but the people who are recreating Oblivion in Skyrim. Just because the projects are so similar. Because we're rebuilding Oblivion in the time of Skyrim, but they're rebuilding Oblivion in the time of Oblivion. And that's been done before. But I don't seriously think that that's a negative thing or anything. I think it's really cool just to see, you know, whatever anybody wants to do in these hobbies for fun is, it's all just about what they enjoy. Trollo and chat. Ah, yes, the Elder Scrolls Renewal versus Beyond Skyrim. Epic. Yeah, it's funny. I find it funny that I think that way as well, where it's sort of like, you know, you kind of get invested into one of the projects, and or both. You know, you can enjoy both of them. I may at some point join the other project too. I might be in both projects, just so I can see what's going on both sides. Actually, it's funnily enough, I've been staying away from my Nexus inbox for some time. Xander King, just copy paste, bro. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'll just load up the Christian kit and be like, all right, well, I did this dungeon for Beyond Skyrim. I'm just gonna copy paste it. That'd be funny. Okay, what was I doing here? So it's got to be two corners here. So I'm actually looking for an exit. There's like a door or something. Yeah, door. That's what I'm looking for. Doors are kind of tricky because there's like 4 versions of them. What I do to look through them is I'll go Control F. I'll select it, I'll do Control F. That allows you to replace an asset with another asset. And then this thing comes up, the search and replace. And we're just going to replace it with that next one. Nope, that's not the right rotation.
COVID-19 requires each of us to help prevent further spread of this.
There we go, I muted it for now. I get a lot of BC government, my province in Canada, ads on Spotify. Just go 5 more seconds on that ad. There we go. This music too, looking at Spotify, this track is actually from Beyond Skyrim Cyrodiil. If you guys are looking for music, I just put the playlist into the Twitch chat, and then I'm also going to put it too. So if you're interested in this music, what it is I've created a Spotify playlist which contains a bunch of community music. So whether it's kind of by bands that have done covers of music from Skyrim or Elder Scrolls, or if it's music that is kind of meant to be kind of within the realm of Elder Scrolls, I created a playlist of all the music I could find on Spotify of that kind of music. And it's really cool if you like ambient music. This is fantastic stuff to listen to. It's a really long playlist. Like there's actually like 13 hours or so of music on it. Cyrodiil King, with all your hours logged into Skyrim, have you completed all the faction quest lines? Let me see. I've beaten Dark Brotherhood. I've done Fighters Guild. No, I'm working through a Stormcloak playthrough right now. I've done the Imperial playthrough. That was the first one I did. And Mage's Guild, I think I finished Mage's Guild. I might do it again in my current playthrough. Because I do like the Mage's Guild. I think it's really cool. I like that area. I'm actually interested in trying out some of those mods that kind of revamp the Mage's Guild, but I'm also hesitant because I know there's a lot of quest stuff, and I know some of those mods came out pretty early on, so I'm not completely confident that they did it right, if you know what I mean. Like they might have messed something up here or there, and that makes it really difficult to play through, because when you want to commit to playing a playthrough, you want to make sure everything's going to work so that you don't have to get back into your load order when you're trying to play. I'm gonna make that go straight. That'll be a straight line there. I've also not done the Thieves Guild. I haven't done that playthrough. A lot of times I get stuck because I'm honestly the kind of person who has trouble doing like mean things in games. So like when it's like, oh yeah, like go ask these people for money, I'm just like, oh man, I don't know, that doesn't fit my roleplay character. That doesn't really it seems weird to me to do that, and so I struggle with doing that in a playthrough, and I'm sure eventually I'll just kind of do it and go through that kind of one. As the Underking, I finally completed the Skyrim Thieves Guild. It felt like they spent way more time on it than others. I do see a lot, like, one thing that's also really fascinating about being a modder is I spend a lot more time in the creation kit than I spend playing Skyrim. So a lot of my knowledge of Skyrim actually comes from the creation kit, where I'll see things mentioned. Like one of the things for Thieves Guild is I see all kinds of assets. Like I see things with like the eye, like the Falmer eye. I've used that in things before, and all kinds of stuff. It seems good. One of my favorite. It's funny I say that because I'm like. Meanwhile, I've already, you know, one of the first ones I did was the Dark Brotherhood playthrough. How come I can do the Dark Brotherhood so easily, but the Thieves Guild gives me like moral guilt? I don't know how that one works out. Maybe it's just because the tone of the Dark Brotherhood is more like goofy and stuff. I have no clue. I think I'll just go through it. I'll probably make a playthrough where I'm playing as like an Argonian or something. And I think that would make it a whole lot easier. Let's see if I can do something kind of cool with this corner here. I want it to be so that you can kind of see through it, and like you could maybe get through, but there's actually like a door there. Nice, I'm stoked about this. So let's see what that. What were they? Bricks or blocks? Oh, whoops! I have the. In chat, people are talking about Skywind. Skywind is like the Elder Scrolls 6 of the modding community. It's always quiet. Yeah, it's got to be a lot of work for them. And I think the way that a lot of people approach these projects is some people use them to build a portfolio. And I do think that a lot of people working on Skywind, at least, you know, in the 3D modeling and stuff, people use it to work on a portfolio and to sort of prove to future employers that they're really good at 3D modeling, and here's an example of what they've done. And so from that angle, mods can be actually really fantastic, because you can show, hey, I've actually done these things before. I've produced a product. And I think that they've done that a lot with Skywind, where there's fantastic 3D models, but I can't imagine the level designer who is going to have to go through and faithfully recreate the Oblivion dungeons exactly using the kit. Unless they do it with some kind of automated process, which they might actually find some way to do some sort of file translation between the Oblivion, where everything is, and just kind of using those same assets. If they have all the same assets, that might be one way they can do it. But I can't imagine going through and recreating the dungeons completely faithfully, right? Like going through and making sure that every piece is placed kind of where it's supposed to be. That's one thing I love about this project is we're encouraged to add our own style to it. Eric Thomas, are there issues that you keep in mind when designing levels? Stuff like making sure not to create places where a PC can become trapped or where followers will become lost? Yeah, and the wonderful thing is we also have quality assurance. So we have a team of people who actually just play through our levels, and they play through it in a way that quality assurance or QA teams do, which is very thorough, where you try and walk in every kind of nook and cranny and see what happens. And yeah, it's always one of those things where it's better to be proactive. Like it's good if I can solve that stuff when I'm building it.
You know that London Drugs has one of Western Canada.
It's better to build that stuff when do that kind of thing in advance, because it saves us some time, because then there's that loop of it goes to QA and then it comes back to level design. So every time I introduce some problem for QA to find, that's always going to take a little bit more time and energy. So it's good to be proactive about those kind of things. And another thing too is that there's some things that I'll find when I'm doing the nav mesh. So there's something called the nav mesh, which is a kind of a navigation map for the AI to walk on. And they're really fascinating. I'll probably show that in an episode or two from now. Nav mesh is one of the things that you do towards the end of completing a dungeon. You usually wait until the end just because, in case you want to move things around, every time you do it, you have to rebake the nav mesh. So it's good to leave that until later on. I was trying to mute myself before I cleared my throat there. Sorry about that, I probably blew your eardrums. I made so much effort. I tried to click into my recorder and mute myself, but I misclicked and I opened up Oblivion by accident. See, the thing is, you guys who are watching this on Twitch right now, you guys get the raw, unfiltered content, because when I redo this to upload it to YouTube, they're probably not going to have to suffer through the same thing. But for those, when I do this on YouTube, I actually pretty much don't cut any of this. I was looking at the time, and it takes me, I usually stream for about 3 hours, and the videos themselves, they end up being like 2.5 hours. So you only get about a half an hour of content that doesn't end up going all the way through. Okay, so there's this big pillar in the middle. Pillars are awesome. Pillars are one of my favorite things because you can throw them in the corner, you can throw them in the middle of the room. Anywhere you put it, it just kind of makes it interesting. Move it up a bit, and I'm going to shrink it. Shrinking is nice. You can always shrink stuff without it making the textures lose quality. The only issue for resizing stuff is if you're gonna expand stuff. Karate Kid in chat. For some reason, this room makes me think of a Pikmin 2 dungeon. And yeah, pillars are super fun. Pixel Slayer in chat. Pillars in Skyrim are what skulls are for Warhammer. Yep, just add more skulls. I love doing that in Skyrim dungeons too. It's just, you find a little place in a dungeon, you're like, hey, why not a skull here? But yeah, pillars are cool. You can hide around them, you don't know what's quite around the other side of it. It breaks up a room and breaks up the sightlines. Just great stuff. Pixel Slayer in chat. Just follow the rule of cool. Yes, it's the best way to do it. Building a cool theme is always more important than anything else. You can have the best gameplay design in the world, but if it's not cool, cool is the glue that sticks everything together. Pixel Slayer in chat. I'm currently replaying Oblivion myself for the second time after years of not touching it. It definitely has its own charm and beauty. A unique landscapes mod is just amazing. Really brings the environment to a whole new level. I'll have to check that one out. I started doing a replay of Oblivion a few months ago, and that's actually what this character is. I'll show you guys. This was my character. It's funny, I use him for testing now, but this was this was him. Dark Elf.
We've all felt it.
Ooh.
Days blending into one, wondering how we'll make next month.
Coronavirus ads.
I'm just gonna mute them, and then we can get back to the music.
But yeah, this is. I'll go back to it. Here's my character. This is. I love doing this. I was trying to do an interesting build where he's not really using any armor. What does he have? He has a robe of fortifying speech and things like that. Just kind of fun. It's interesting playing these like cloth characters. I also really want to do a Morrowind replay at some point. I think that would be really cool. We got some Oblivion mod recommendations in chat here. There's Oblivion Reloaded, which does memory management. It makes the game a little bit more stable. There's Unique Landscapes, Shiny Creatures, Creature Diversity, and Better Dungeons. Yeah, I always find the good way to go with modding Skyrim, modding Oblivion, or almost anything is not getting too greedy with the mods. Just pick what you need to have an enjoyable game. It's great that there's so many mods out there, but for a good game, you don't really need all that many mods. And sometimes you have a better experience with just a few. But looking at mods and finding mods that are cool is half of the fun, just looking at what's out there. Okay, so then it goes down through this hole, and we get into this, we go back into the room. This is a cool room. Oh, there's the, wow, next room we get to do the helm. The helmet is in the next room. It's right there. Let's go over to it. There's the helmet. Helm of the Crusader. So we're gonna build this. Oh my god, that's exciting. This is gonna be the next room. As this dot going in, this is gonna be so cool. But my idea for this is that it's gonna be corrupted. So we can see it right now. It has this blue light. It's not going to be blue, it's going to be green. And it's not going to be the helm of the Crusader, it's going to be the helm of the White Worm. And I don't think the Lich is going to be in here. I think the Lich will be like one further. This is going to be cool. Alright. Karate Kid in chat. Shiny Creatures, one of the mods recommended for Oblivion, is one of my own creations. In fact, it basically takes the shiny Pokemon mechanic and adds it to Oblivion's creatures. That's cool. So, like, do you have, like... So you have your creatures, and then every now and then there's, like, a creature that's, like, more difficult? Or, like, a special version of it? That sounds really cool. Okay, so then I think I'm gonna copy this again, but this is gonna be a little different because instead of going into a hall, it's gonna be going into a room, which is a lot larger. Karate Kid. Not more difficult per se, but a different color and a sparkling particle effect. Each one has a valuable drop on it. Oh, that's cool as well. Such as shiny bear or wolf pelts, shiny slaughterfish scales, etc. That's really interesting. I think I love that idea of randomness in games and how every now and then you even if you're doing kind of the same thing, like if you're going and hunting in Skyrim or something, or in Oblivion, and you're traveling around, just that chance that you might find something really interesting is something that I think makes the game feel so much more dynamic.
Did you know that as a worker, you have the right to refuse unsafe work?
We're getting a lot of ads now. That's the thing about Spotify. I use it so much. Maybe I should pay for it. Karate Kid in chat. Glad you like the idea. My friend and I thought the same thing when we were playing through Morrowind together. It actually started as a Morrowind mod, and I made Oblivion and Skyrim Special Edition versions there. Oh, that's cool. So you have a Skyrim version too. Sweet. And a Morrowind one too. That's so cool. I love those ideas that just come out of like a discussion where you're just like, you're chatting about something, you're like, oh, that'd be cool. It's like, hey, yeah, you know, let's make it. Let's make it happen. So if you're ever in a Christian kit and you end up building yourself some kind of a mess like this, which I'm just going to bring light over here so you guys can see that a little bit more clearly. This could be the wrong light, but I'll bring it over here for now. And just to show you the mess. So I've tried to do something weird and mixed a few of these kits together. So I have one piece here, I have one piece here, and then I have this piece here. And I'm trying to connect all of them. Clearly they do not connect. It's not set up right. Oh wait, can I actually? Oh, okay. So I can make the problem less bad if I move that. But I still have the issue of I've kind of mixed a few of these things together. So if that ever happens, you just take your good old trusty boulders, and it's like the problem wasn't even there. You just hide it underneath a boulder. And ta-da. Okay, so now we're gonna go Imperial room. All right. Now we're gonna start building the coolest room. This might actually be pretty difficult for me to figure out what this is. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna be a tough one. I'm gonna start with a room wall, just to see how big this is. So it's a large room wall. Okay. So that's kind of the roof. So you kind of get in at the ceiling here. I think that's actually the right size too. That's about the right size. Awesome. Okay, and then we also need a smaller wall. Wait. No, not that one. Yeah, this is gonna... I think... Okay, so the next streams, I'm going to be doing 4 streams next month. There's going to be one every week. And they'll probably still be on Tuesdays. Tuesdays works pretty well for me. And I'm pretty sure next episode is going to be completely devoted to building this ring. But I still do have 20 minutes left here. So I'm going to get started on it and start building out some of the themes and stuff for it. Because I know I want to do those. I'm going to build a corner. And that one's going to go way over here. So I've got a bit of a puzzle to figure out here, because back over here, you kind of, I'm trying to think of followers, because your followers have to be able to path everywhere. And so if your follower follows you down here, oh, okay, that's not too bad. So what I do, I'm just going to create another dirt mound, and the dirt mound is just going to go all the way down here. So then your follower can walk down, and then keep walking down, all the way down here. So that's kind of interesting. So the theme of this room, it's going to kind of look like this, but there's going to be more dirt that's kind of filled in. This is really coming along. I've added some rubble here, and it's gonna make this path down, and I'm just loving it so far. I think that's so cool. The Under King in chat. Really appreciate you taking your time and work, bro. I'm gonna sign off and tinker around in the kit. See you on your next stream. Have a good one, man. It's nice to chat, and yeah, thanks. I know you stuck around for the whole stream, so thanks for that. And yeah, I mean, I don't know why I'm saying thanks. It's not like it's a gift or anything, but it was nice to chat with you. And yeah, hope you have a good one, man. There we go. Now it's really coming together. That last few pieces, it takes a while to build these things sometimes, but the last few pieces of this ramp are coming together. Imperials or Stormcloaks? I think that the Stormcloaks didn't get a fair shake, and I think a lot of people you can be a Stormcloak without being racist. I think that's probably the most contentious thing that I can say about Stormcloaks. I think that's the reason why a lot of people don't want to play Stormcloaks, is they feel like if you're Stormcloak, you are having the exact same views as Ulfric Stormcloak. And I think it's interesting because you can be a supporter of Nord sovereignty without being against any of the other races in Skyrim. I think that's one of the most interesting ways to play it. That's one of the ways that I'm playing it with one of my playthroughs, my most recent ones, is a hero who's good to everybody, but they also believe that the Imperials should stay out of Skyrim because the Nords have a special kind of magic. They have the voice, which is a kind of magic that elves do not have. And I think that is something worth fighting for. Trillo in chat. Every time I side with the Stormcloaks, I feel like I've doomed Tamriel into Altmer domination. I think it's interesting, and I'll offer an argument against it, which is that the power of the voice can be taught, whereas magic has to be inherited in a way. Like in Skyrim, it's sort of like the Bretons have magic, the Nords don't. Most Nords don't have magic, and I think that it does doom Skyrim, or it does doom Tamriel into more war, and I think that's the most interesting thing, is that in a way, the banning of Talos worship is like appeasement. It's kind of like giving them your power, putting down your weapon. What are they going to do once you put down your weapon? Well, they're going to take something else, because now you have even less of an ability to defend yourself. And I look at it from that angle, where there's going to be conflict no matter what, but it just depends whether or not the humans can defend themselves, or whether they're going to be condemned back into the sort of slavery conditions that they lived in under ancient times, when there was the Aelids, and the Aelids had dominion over mankind. So I think that's the angle that I look at it from. Is it's not necessarily about preventing war. It's, you know, if the Aldmeri Dominion wants war, they're going to have war. If they want to take things from the Nords, you know, and they're going to start war because of that, well, let there be war, because the Nords should defend themselves. Because it's kind of up to the Aldmeri Dominion. They could say, okay, no, it's not worth it. Let's not try and invade Skyrim, because those Nords, they're just going to fight us every inch. That's the way that I view it. But I am playing a pro Stormcloak playthrough. All right, so it is 7 o'clock. I've been going on for 3 hours. I see there's 16 live viewers. Thank you for coming and hanging out. We just got one last thing in chat. Karate Kid, I'm pro Imperial myself, but I do see some of Ulfric's points. But the Imperials did the treaty only because they had to, and I feel that dividing the races of man and the Imperials and Nords had a strong relationship for thousands of years is a terrible idea. It would have been better for Ulfric and most Nords to simply weather the storm. Remember that the Imperials loved Talos as well and didn't even enforce the Talos ban. It's interesting, and I think that the writing of Skyrim is very good from that angle, where it makes it a difficult choice. And it also kind of plays with the way that we view war and kind of anti-war ideas of sort of war should be avoided because it is a bad thing kind of thing. But yeah, just the way that I look at it is sort of, maybe that's the natural state of the Elder Scrolls games, right? It's kind of like World of Warcraft in a way. It's like, of course they're going to be at war all the time. The game's called Warcraft. So I think it's interesting. We always kind of bring these out of game ideas into the game world. But it's also interesting to kind of look at it from what's another perspective, because I mean, the Stormcloaks, there's a lot of Nords fighting on their side. There must be some reason there. And I think they didn't write as much of that rationale. I think the writing of Skyrim is very pro-Imperial. And I kind of wish that they took a different take with it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in these projects and things, is because it gives people the opportunity to write more of that story and maybe create more of these rationales and these other ways of looking at things. But yeah. So at the end of the streams, I usually like to just do a review of everything we've gone through and the stuff that I built. So today, it was this part here. So it starts at this entrance here, and you go up, and then out of this area, there's a lot of custom build stuff, and also a new kit, this Imperial Ruins kit here, which I'm still kind of getting into, learning how to use it. And then you come through here. There's this area here where you can go back that way. There's some roots and things. Otherwise, over here, there's another little area there. Just taking the chance to fix a few of these things too as I see them. Then you can go over this way and up and into this little cavern room, and then over there into the big room. So yeah, it was an interesting 3 hours. I had a lot of fun chatting with people, and there was a lot of building of specific kit pieces and things like that. So those always take a little bit longer, but the benefit of that is now I have these awesome pieces that I can copy and paste and tweak a little bit if I need to later on. And that's always a good thing when it takes a little bit longer to set some things up, but you end up in a good spot because you can copy and paste it later on to save yourself some time. And yeah, so thank you to everybody for joining. Let me see. Yeah. So yeah, next month in May, there's going to be a stream every week. So I'm going to try and keep it Tuesdays. I stream at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and that's 7 p.m. Eastern time. Usually I also upload to YouTube too, so I try to do that usually by a day or two after the stream. So you can check that out too. I'll see if I can find my YouTube for you guys as well. All right, so this is my YouTube. You can also find these videos over here. Yeah. So thanks a lot for chatting and just for the community support. It's really cool to do these streams and kind of, you know, just kind of sit there out in the open in the public for anybody to come by on the internet and say hello and how you doing and stuff. Yeah, I really enjoy doing that kind of stuff. I love creating this public content and stuff, and it just, yeah, it makes me feel like I'm doing something that touches people's lives in a positive way and stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good time.
Enjoy maybe playing some Skyrim mods. There's tons of stuff out there. There's years and years of content, and yeah, you know, start a new playthrough. Play some more Skyrim.
Yeah, so have a good one.